How's it going? It's Matt Tomorrow here. Thanks for coming through. Waiting on Mike B to come on along with some others. So just a second to get the show started. How's it going? It's Matt Tomorrow here. Thanks for coming through. So that way we can get some other people in here. What's going on, sir? Obadiah. Yeah, it's an important topic because the dude can cause an immense amount of damage between now and then, and just simply pardon himself before he gets out of White House. And that's something that we got to cover. What's going on, Goshen? Y'all like the video I'm coming in. I know this is a kind of a last minute thing, but something important that we need to talk about because there's a lot of legal things that are going on for this guy outside of, once he gets out of the White House. But we're going to cover all of that today, especially with Bob Barr being no longer the Attorney General. This kind of changes things going forward because, this pardon thing is going to be real interesting to see how that's going to turn out. There's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes, especially because he's trying something else that's never been tried before as well. That's really Mike. What's going on, man?
Yo, what's going on, MLT?
Yeah, I was just talking about how we're just on the talking to just how every day seems to be shaping up to be something that's never been done or even tried within the actual country itself, and everything seems to be just changing on a daily kind of basis. And this dude can do a lot of damage on his way out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he's going to do it. I don't see him not doing it because once we start going over these cases and what he has, and that's just right now.
Mm-hmm.
No one has sued him for anything that has happened in office. Because, that's coming too. A myriad of defamation suits and all that kind of stuff for when he was in office that he would have to attend to as well.
Yeah, his options are starting to thin out. So a lot of people are still talking about January 6th, but there's a lot of mobility that's happening between now and January 20th. And and what's happening here is that the legal aspect is starting to come down and weigh down on him. See, prior to November 4th, he thought this was a shoo-in for him. He would just have this, he would coast all the way to victory, and he wouldn't have to worry about any sort of blowback from any legal proceedings that would actually impact him in the post-campaign. Because if he would have took a second term, he wouldn't have to worry about it. Now he's leaving the White House and them U-Haul trucks is out there. He has to worry about as soon as the furniture moves out, 12 p.m. January 20th, this is an issue. And so now he has to regroup and really think about how to go about handling this. AG Barr stepping down plays a significant role. Pentagon officials leaving early and being fired, that definitely plays a significant role. We don't know how much dirt is under the nails of 45 right now. So a lot of things can happen.
What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on? And what's going on, fella? What's going on, Mike? Yeah. Mike's right. 45 is really exceedingly nervous about what's going to be happening in New York State, and what he's potentially looking at there with respect to financial frauds that he has regarding his company, overpricing, overvaluating properties, and getting huge, tax, tax write-offs and so forth for that, and getting monies back from the government and so forth, in the hundreds of millions to billions of dollars over time. He's got a real problem. Looking at that, they got mountains of evidence on him, and that's why he's going to try to pardon as much of his way out of this as possible. But the state charges are on him. He's kind of melting down in office right now. I even heard something earlier today on a news report that he's actually considering not leaving on the 20th, and I think he'll be talked out of that as well. But that's what this guy is facing. This is not so much for him now to hold power, because or really get reelected. He's trying to hold power to save his ass. So there are a lot of heavy issues with this guy. He's got some real problems. So how this thing is going to shape out is still a bit of a question. He's going to try to run some junk up on the I believe on the 8th of January to try to get in the way of the all the electoral votes being accepted by the Congress. But Mitch McConnell shutting him down, basically saying, let's welcome in a new president, the president-elect. That signals to the overall Congress, because he is the majority leader of the Senate, and and that's big right there to say, this is over. We're going to have to kind of move forward. So there's some big, so 45 has got a lot of issues, but I think what's really hanging over his head, like that gleaming sword of Damocles, is the 8th and 9th Circuit District of New York, of the Southern District, Vance, and Letitia James. I think that's the big issue here. Of course, the other issue, of course, is we see some of his horrific supporters who are going against democracy, and that's for a different issue. Racism is at the very base of it. I'm sorry to say that. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but it is. It's really about you voting and your power base and so forth. I'm seeing some of this being played out right now in Georgia with my guys on the ground as we speak. So there's a big issue there. So we do have some rather large issues, but Trump is going to hype that up and create a lot of problems with that to try to protect himself. And these guys are in a full meltdown mode, which it's going to be very interesting to see how we're going to deal with this moving forward. Once he's out of here. But anyway, go ahead, guys.
Yeah, what's interesting is that recently, Trump has come out against McConnell to bring him up, and coming after McConnell because McConnell, I guess, basically congratulated Biden on his victory after the electoral vote came back.
Yeah, I mean that's significant, but McConnell has got his own issues to deal with. McConnell right now is looking dead at his own job. McConnell is like, hold on one second, with all this crap you're pulling and saying the elections were frauds and everything else like that, this could have a huge effect on my position, because right now Georgia is the United States, and if our candidates lose and these two guys get in here, I lose my position. I become in the minority.
Yeah.
And there's a lot at stake here. So I've got my interests. We've got the party's greater interest than your interest, and we've got to be looking out for that. So let's put the kibosh on this fucking asshole. Put put his ass in the grave where he now belongs, and let's kind of move forward and kind of keep what we have to have in place, because that's at stake. So there's a lot at stake. He understands that. One thing he also knows is that Biden got a lot of Republican conservative votes. He got that. And now some of these Republican conservatives who actually do believe in the union are questioning some of what is going on currently in this dialogue that these savages are having, in destabilizing the country. And McConnell doesn't know how that's going to fly. So that's why he's sitting there now talking about, doing a deal with the Democrats and coming up with the stimulus plan and all this kind of, COVID relief and all of this, because the political realities are starting to hit. And they're looking in some respects at Trump as more of an anchor than a strong booster. So they're gonna have to cut and run and do what they need and finish off the orange one, let him die on the vine as he should, and move forward. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the reason why I brought it up is because Trump is losing allies by the hour, man.
That's correct.
He has no allies in the Pentagon, in the outer rim. There's nobody over there that has his interests at all. He also doesn't have any allies outside within his own cabinet now. A lot of people stepping off, man. Like, hey, man, you're going a little bit too far, but it's been real. It's been fun. It hasn't been real fun. Can't wait for January 20th to come because I'm out of here, man. And so I want to play the video so that people get an understanding of what we're discussing.
Go ahead, let it rip.
I don't have privileges.
You do. I gave them to you once the thing started. If not,
okay, I got it now. Okay. All right, fair use. Fair use.
Welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. We now have just 35 days left in Donald Trump's presidency, and many of his supporters are still refusing to acknowledge reality. At the top of the list is the man on your screen, Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin. He chairs the Senate Homeland Security Committee. So you'd think he would know better, but I'll save the suspense. He does not. Johnson presided over a hearing today with witnesses continuing to spread conspiracy theories about the election and other lies that have been repeated ad nauseum by the president and his lackeys. But there was a voice of reason, Christopher Krebs. He, the Homeland Security official who was fired by Trump after he had the temerity to say that the election was in fact successful and secure without widespread fraud. Take a listen to Krebs today.
The citizens of the United States of America that are responsible for executing this sacred democratic institution of elections are being threatened on a daily basis. I know this is not America I recognize, and it's got to stop. We need everyone across the leadership ranks to stand up. I think I would appreciate more support from my own party, the Republican Party, to call this stuff out and end it. We got to move on.
But I want to stop right there, man. You got people in this space saying that this isn't legit, man.
I mean, that's now. I'm going to say this: the thing that bothers me about that is, as stupid as these people are who are out here saying that, I have to put a lot of the blame on the misinformationeers, the ones who have really crafted this message and put it out there, and and haven't really been held to task at the level that they need to be for putting that out there and pushing this, that are actually inside of the government, actually, and much of it coming out of the White House, Trump himself. That's why I feel some of these people need to actually come up underneath some level of not only greater scrutiny at what they're doing, but I think charges need to be brought against them. I think some very serious charges should be brought against these people for what they were doing. Yes, a lot of the people who are in here in the manosphere saying this are very dumb and are fucking stupid, but at some of their levels of stupidity, it's because of a lot of the information that's being pushed out here that these people are easily buying into, and we know how that can be done. We've seen it certainly with the brown shirts and the Nazis and so forth in the in the run up to actually Hitler getting elected. In fact, of which people don't realize he was elected. But at the end of the day, the disinformation that came out of there, we've seen what happened from that perspective. We're seeing somewhat of what we're looking at this kind of somewhat here as well. So I do believe that the information, the people who are generating this information, who are doing this misinformation campaign, have to be held accountable as well.
Well, the reason why I stopped the video here is because Krebs is a Republican. He's not some strange liberal, or lefty coming in to sabotage the process. No, he's a Republican. He's saying, my fellow party, I wish more people from my party would stop doing this.
Yeah. He's countering the disinformation campaign. He's countering. We need more of them to come out to counter this disinformation campaign, of which we know can be very powerful. We have destabilized other governments by way of the CIA and so forth overseas and in South America by running disinformation campaigns, as well as you people are well, these brothers here. I mean, many other very ignorant people may not have any idea of this, but we certainly are very aware of these kind of situations that have happened throughout history, and we're seeing that going on right here, and we need more Republicans to come out and do that. Krebs, this guy was very important individual, and Mike, you're a cybersecurity guy, so you know exactly where Krebs is coming from. So maybe you might want to expand on that a little bit from your professional perspective and where Krebs is coming from, but just how dangerous this really is and how correct that he is about the information. Maybe you might want to expand on that, because that certainly is your area of expertise. I couldn't really get into that area and speak on it as cogently as you could. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I'll say this real quick, and I'll play the video. He understands, like what I've been saying, like MOT has been saying, like we've all been saying. You cannot hinge your credibility on this misinformation, disinformation campaign, because after it's all over, accreditation is shot. He, as the head of cybersecurity for the Department of Homeland Security, if he goes along with this and he's in charge of security, he's compromised. Not only that, he could be charged with sedition himself. He's in a very strong position. He was in a very strong position within the United States government of law enforcement. If you got a guy like this who's in charge of all of the digital security, saying, "Hey, this election, it was stolen," no, he can't say that. He can't say that.
I mean, because that could motivate one of these people to like go out and commit some type of act of violence based on something that they think is happening that clearly isn't.
Yeah,
it's been legitimized by some people in the media.
He would have to go into hiding for the rest of his life. His career would be over. I mean, he could probably write a book or two, but no one would take you seriously because your credibility would be shot. We finish playing this video. Fair use.
Now, Trump may try something else. He is reportedly pushing for a special counsel to investigate election fraud and another one to probe Hunter Biden's tax and business affairs. CNN saying Trump views that as payback for the Russia probe. But if you think about it, I struggle to find any logic with this. Joe Biden had nothing to do with the Mueller probe. And of course, Trump has legal issues of his own to deal with. Now, the Manhattan DA, he's investigating the Trump Organization, and the state's attorney general leading a tax fraud investigation into Trump's companies. They've been trying to block the release of documents demanded by the AG, but a state judge just ruled that they have to turn them over. Those cases and more expected to heat up once Trump leaves office. But on the federal front, Joe Biden has said that he wants to move on and avoid investigations of the former president that could further divide this country. I want to bring in our guest to discuss. He is a former federal prosecutor himself, Roland Riopel. And Roland, let me first ask the broader question, because I've heard debates and they reference, Nixon and what Ford decided to do, that forgetting even the malfeasance potentially of Trump, that it's in the nation's best interest to close the chapter and move forward. Conversely, I see other people saying, no one should be above the law, especially the president of the United States, and we need accountability. Maybe it's a deterrent so we don't go through what we went through the next time, somebody like him takes the Oval. Where do you fall on that?
Richard, I fall on the side of a full and fair federal investigation if there are no pardons, and a prosecution if the proof is there to bring it. This is very different than the Nixon case in that Mr. Trump, having been caught red-handed, never saw justice, was not forced out of office, was not removed by the Senate. His conduct during the election now has been just awful and so damaging, and indeed perhaps illegal in many respects. So I think that there's got to be a full investigation in this circumstance. It's not a circumstance like Nixon where the guy resigned in disgrace. This guy's going out and damaging everything he can on his way out the door. It's a terrible situation. And frankly, the obstruction of the Mueller investigation that he engaged in, that's got to be punished. If it's not punished, it'll happen every time there's an investigation going forward.
Well,
He's got to be prosecuted.
And let's put this in a couple buckets. First, on the federal, the expectation, I'd be shocked that there's not going to be a conga line of pardons handed out, including to the first family. If the president, and obviously he could step down and have Pence do it, but if the president tries to pardon himself, I know it's unsettled. If you try to read the tea leaves as to whether or not it's permissible or not, or if it went to the high court, if they decide a president can pardon himself, where do you believe the court will come down on that?
I don't believe the court will allow the president to do that. Many commentators with higher IQs than mine have said that a president can't pardon himself. Lawrence Tribe, for example, it's all based on the principle that you cannot be a judge in your own case, which is what a president does when he pardons himself. So I don't believe the president will get away with that. I don't think it'll be effective. Whether the prosecutors will have the guts to go ahead and challenge that, I don't know. But I don't think that's a valid legal move by the president.
In terms of a pardon, is it clear, Roland, even if you take the president out of the equation, that you can pardon someone for not just, past crimes, but basically even those that have yet to be raised? Do you have to have a level of specificity? There's been a debate around that. Or can you basically just do a blanket pardon of past and future?
You can do a blanket pardon of all past conduct in crimes, right? And that's what happened in Nixon. Nixon was pardoned for all past conduct and any crimes. You cannot pardon for any future criminal conduct. So if, for example, Mr. Trump resigns the day before Biden takes office and Pence pardons him on the very last day of the Trump-Pence presidency, Pence could, in theory, pardon the president in connection with all conduct up until January 20th. But if the president commits a crime on January 21st or January 22nd, a new crime, that cannot be pardoned. You cannot have a pardon that goes into the future, only one that applies to conduct in the past.
You have to specify what you're being pardoned for, meaning if there is something that hasn't come to light, do you have to basically, put that down on paper as to this is what I'm looking to be pardoned for? Or let's say there's a revelation 6 months from now that we, have, self-enrichment or whatever the case may be of the president. Will he have to articulate the actions that he wants to be pardoned for?
To some degree, yes. Again, this is a pretty open issue legally. There's not a whole lot of precedent on it, but a pardon needs to have some specificity so we know what has been pardoned. And if, for example, the president does not mention, and to accept a pardon is in effect an admission of guilt, which is why the president may not do it. I think he's got too big an ego to allow for that, but that's another issue. But yes, there has to be enough specificity so that a subsequent court can see what it is that you were pardoned for. It's sort of like the double jeopardy bar against subsequent prosecution. You can't be prosecuted twice for the same crime, but you have to be able to see what the crime is that you were prosecuted for the first time. In this case, what the crime was that you were pardoned for in the first time around, so that you then know if the pardon acts as a bar to a subsequent prosecution.
Let's get to where pardons won't work, and that's going to be at the state level. We know, and I mentioned before, Cy Vance is working on a case, we understand, at the Manhattan DA's office, and Letitia James at the state level for AG, and that's just what we know about right now. To your knowledge, how serious are the investigations, and which one should trouble Donald Trump more?
I think they are both serious investigations. I think Mr. Trump should be worried about both. I think the tax investigation at the AG's office really should be a layup. Just what we know about the Trump Foundation sounds like a very easy, straightforward tax case to make. And what we've seen reported in the press seems to demonstrate that there are many other tax crimes that could be prosecuted. And what we see in the press about the Cy Vance investigation also sounds like a pretty straightforward white-collar prosecution where there are two sets of books being kept, one for your insurance company and one for the tax authorities, and false business records is a classic New York State court white-collar prosecution. Now, whether these two offices will actually make their cases and follow through on them, I don't know. I don't have complete faith in that, despite the fact that I think the cases are straightforward, because I know that, both offices have sort of been buffaloed by Trump in the past, and maybe that'll happen again. We'll see.
Finally, we can see the finish line of the Trump term. But with Barr out of the way, and I certainly am not going to give him a hero's goodbye here, but nonetheless, with him gone, how much mischief could Trump be up to in the next month?
That depends on who takes Barr's place. If the person who is making the calls that Barr would ordinarily make is even more of a Trump partisan than Barr was, we could have a lot of trouble. There could be the appointment of a special counsel to investigate bogus allegations about Mr. Biden, President-elect Biden. We know there's been a threat to appoint a special counsel to investigate alleged tax violations by Hunter Biden. I'm not in a position to know whether that's bogus or not, but it's clear that the appointment of special counsel, as was the case with that U.S. attorney in Connecticut, is a strategy that Trump may decide to use to try to hamstring Biden's administration. If a special counsel is appointed, it's very hard to get rid of that person, and they can do a lot of damage without much evidence. With a lot less evidence than Robert Mueller had to go on, they could keep the investigation going for a long time, and it would be a real disaster in terms of the press for President Biden at a minimum.
I would suggest to the outgoing president, if Biden seems willing to just move on from Trump, it may not be in Trump's best interest to try and poke the bear as he's going out the door. But Roland, it is always good to see you. And I think I speak for you that we dodged a bullet in November, but we got a lot of work to do to, put some more of at least the girders on the democracy that we maybe took for granted.
I think that's right. Trump is not going to go quietly into the night, and he's going to be around to try to kick the guardrails aside for a long time yet, and that's frightening.
That it is. Roland Riopel, always great talking to you. Thank you.
Good to see you, Richard. Good to see you. Stay healthy.
You too. All right. When we come back, everyone, I want you to take a
So lock her up. Lock her up. That was the chant a few years ago at these rallies. 2020. Now people are talking about lock him up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the bottom line. What we were saying before here, that, here you've got Cyrus Vance and Letitia James and them hanging a major, like I said, a sword of Damocles over the president's head. I think that's a fairly sizable motivator for him at this stage.
Mhm.
If he decides to really create the kind of problems he has by his attorney general, who in my view was one of the most compromised sumbitches that we've seen in in decades come through. Certainly, and then he's trying to leave almost, like he did the right thing. I think he was egregious in the Mueller investigation and so forth. How the attorney general really came in and absolutely obstructed that investigation in many ways. Looking at what we see possibly coming down from Trump, and if he just decides to create a lot of problems going out the door, we're going to see a lot of issues. But you're going to see a lot of problems. He can certainly create a lot of mischief. But I think they're going to tear his ass out the frame when he leaves. And I'm still wondering, that's why I'm still questioning: is this guy planning to leave? What might he do? I mean, even though he knows, what may be coming for him if he hangs in there, he may be crazy enough, because I think because I know the COVID affects the brain. It affects the brain. It does affect the brain. And I believe his brain is affected by this disease. I'm going to say that. I believe his mind has been affected in a way where he's willing to go. He may be willing to do something crazy. And I'm still wondering if that's still something that he might be, have planned. And he hasn't called off his wild men, these other these insurrectionists, secessionists, or wherever that we could potentially call them in the Senate. I mean, some in the Senate and in the Congress who, in my view, need to be brought up on charges. As far as I'm concerned, where all this is going to end up. So I'm still not feeling we're out of the woods yet in a lot of ways. Forget about him, coming, having another term. He's done. He's finished. He's dead. He's dead as far as that's concerned. But what else might this guy do? And those are my questions right now, as far as this vile, obscene savage that, in my view, had to come along at some point in time in this nation's in this nation's existence to test true, whether we're a true democracy or not. A savage like this had to come along at some point in time. Here we are, and what's going to happen? I still have some questions. I actually still have some questions. Believe it or not, I do have some questions about this.
Well, I think you may be giving too much credit about COVID's impact on his brain. I mean, you would have to say that he had COVID in 2016 too. Then.
No. I just, this guy took my mic. He said he may not want to leave. He may not want to leave office. What the fuck is that? I don't know what this. I don't know how to. I don't know what category I put that into. It must be something. Are you crazy? Are you really seriously saying that you're not going to leave? Anyway, go ahead.
Lars made a good point in the chat. Like, we knew that all this stuff was going on behind the scenes. They're just more out and brazen with it now. Like, okay, let's say you set up this dangerous ass precedent of you can commit whatever crime you want to while you're in office, and you could just have yourself be pardoned on the way out. I mean, we're setting ourselves up for even more abuses in the future if we allow this stuff to go down the way it's trying to go down right now.
For sure.
But what about the '94 crime bill? I mean, that's the precedence of fascism, of a fascist state. That the sort of thing that he's doing, or that he has the ambition to do, is that trending towards fascism. I mean, the way they showed him getting off of Marine One and just throwing his hands up and strutting and all that swagger and stuff like that. That's, he really thought that he was going to coast to a second term, man. And this all blew up in his face. So the idea of not leaving the White House or any other sort of unpredictable moves that he may be trying to make, that, that's kind of standard practice for a sore loser. He really doesn't know what to do at this point, and he's tearing down all of his pillars. No friends in the Pentagon and the Outer Rim. No friends. No friends.
No friends in the intelligence community.
Say that again, MOC.
No friends in the intelligence community. People can really watch his ass.
Yeah. And once he leaves office, like the former prosecutor said, January 21st, January 22nd, you're on your own, boss. You're on your own. And your kids are on their own too. There's nothing you can't save them at this point.
And I think that's what he's really worried about as well. I think he's very concerned about that. He knows. I have to believe that he knows he's finished. And when I say the COVID thing, I'm not really blaming, full COVID on him. I'm saying is there something else driving him insane? Because this to me sounds like pure madness, unless you're trying to go out like a gangster and you're getting ready to try to pull some kind of serious, now active coup move where he doesn't have the military, anybody really behind him. Certainly the FBI and CIA are certainly not behind him. So I'm thinking this guy is just fucking crazy. So, but I know he's certainly worried about his children as well as himself. So, what's this guy gonna do, man? He has been crafting this for a while. We know this. He's been crafting this for a couple of years, and here it is. But I'm just wondering, what's this Joker gonna? What is this Joker gonna pull in the 12th hour? What is he gonna?
Yeah, but here's the other thing, that nobody is looking at. Like you said, those two sets of books, it's a slam dunk case.
Slam dunk.
And it's kind of odd to think that the children didn't do their books by the same ways that the father did. It's impossible to think that that's not the case.
Yep. No, like I was saying, man. I said it before, and Mike played the video, and it kind of backed up what we were saying here earlier. I really, this is what's hanging over his head. This is the sort of Damocles hanging over his head. This shit is serious. They can get him. They can get this guy on this. He's vulnerable, and this is not a federal situation that he can get pardoned out of. This is the state. So this is very serious. They can get him, and they can get Ivanka, and they can get this Jared Asserhole. And the whole crew of them. And Cohen, his former attorney, has been barking and squeaking on this for a minute now. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just gonna say he may put out a tweet or something, before they disable his account and say, hey, if they come for me, stand back, stand by, no more. Go all out.
Yeah, I'm saying, see, this is the kind of shit I'm talking about. I don't want to get on. This is the kind of shit I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. And then what's going on? I mean, I was very disturbed by what I saw in DC last weekend with these marauding savages, two-legged Mazunga dogs running around, brandishing blades, cutting and slashing people, and violating churches and so forth. So-called would-be tough Negroes hiding out in their houses, terrified. What happens when he unleashes the hounds? I mean, this is a possibility. Now, you can quell it, but what kind of damage is going to go down after this? And where does that leave this nation after? I mean, you have to look at this guy is still wielding, arcane power in some ways. It's ill. This is some ill shit. What is this guy going to do? Mike, what you say is a great possibility. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you have red states right now talking about building up these sort of political blocks with each other. I think Texas and a couple of these other ones talking about building up a sort of Confederate block, of succession from the state, from the United States itself, in support of Trump. And I'm saying this can get really nasty. This is the crux of a civil war.
This is what I'm.
Mhm.
This is, and then there was some other group of a fairly wealthy individual, in I believe I believe this was in Texas as well, where he had sponsored, a steal of, protect the vote, or seek out fraud, or some organization he had, and this guy had a lot of money, and there is a former police captain who was arrested just yesterday, I do believe, where he had rammed his truck into some guy and thought that he had illegal ballots in his vehicle, and said they were watching this guy for days. This guy himself was paid over $250,000 to do this kind of investigation on people, and apparently they've hired me like 20 or 30 other people like this in the state running around to do this. So they've got so there's some guy with a lot of bread, literally paying people to run around. This guy went after someone, ran this guy off the road. They stole his truck. They had this guy under gunpoint. But anyway, the police came. They got in the middle of this thing, and they found out that this guy was didn't have anything to do with anything. Didn't have any ballots or anything. He had air conditioners, and in his truck. They found the truck stolen. Then they just took this former police captain or whatever that was working for some police force. They just arrested him. They just put him in jail. And so you've got people paid, running around undercover with undercover organizations, well financed. This guy himself was paid over a quarter. I think it was 260 grand. Okay, 260 grand to run around for this organization and do this. Well financed, doing the illest. So I'm just saying, this is really not anything that I'm going to sit back and sneeze at, and say, this is nothing. I'm looking at this quite seriously, and there was a fucking an attack of savages, of Mazunga savages in our nation's capital, and the guard wasn't called out, and they went against and attacked your own churches. This shit is not a game. So and then you got
this is level 1 of 10.
Go ahead. Anyway, I'm sorry. But I'm saying we
And
got
this
to
is
be
level 1 of 10.
This is very real shit. This is very real shit. This is not a game.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, panel?
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah. I sent this article to y'all because I saw this, and my first thing that popped in my head is, at what point can you start making a legal basis to hold some of these people accountable? That at a certain point, your rhetoric is becoming so dangerous that it's inciting violence and people to do things like, because that guy was just a normal air conditioning man going about his business.
Yes, you saw that. Yeah, I'm talking about that right now. Here it is. Yeah, regular guy. And they said this guy he had ballots. He had stolen ballots in there in his truck.
Ran up on him. Yeah.
And ran up on him. Ran him off the road. And this guy then pulled the blicky out on him.
Yeah,
Then put the blicky on him, dude.
Yeah, I think down in Georgia too, they had a worker who they had him on video, and they saw him throwing some papers in the trash can, and they thought those were ballots he was throwing away. So he received a bunch of death threats, and they had to go back and look at the video and say, no, those were just instructions that he's throwing away. So like I said, I think you will really put an end to this stuff when you can start holding some people legally accountable for some of the rhetoric that they've put out there. Even if it's just financial, you start hitting them with fines, or even if it is some sort of criminal penalty. That's when I think you'll see this rhetoric come down.
I'm saying that you got to do something, because these people are trying to destabilize the state. What's bothering me is that a lot of this stuff is already in place. There's a lot of money undercover behind the scenes that people don't know, that's financing some of this stuff, and that's what I'm concerned about. I'm good. It's one thing when you have just a bunch of jackanapes running around acting stupid, but what about people who are paid insurrectionists, like people like these Proud Boys and others, who are getting a lot of money? This Rittenhouse kid, whoever, who shot these people at the, at that demonstration, he had a $2 million fucking
Yeah.
bail on him. 2 million. So
Yeah.
that means you have to come up with 10% cash on that. 10% cash.
Mhm.
It's it's 10%. $2 million. That's at least 200 grand he had to come up with.
You had people in this space contributing to that campaign, man.
Think about it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you did.
You gotta start going after who these guys are in these militias. If they're recent veterans, long-term veterans, you got to start taking them down. The VA has to get involved in this. I don't
taking
know.
the benefits.
Huh? Say that again.
They'll start taking the benefits.
Yeah, you got to start prosecuting them, man.
You do. That's what I was saying before. I mean, you have people here who you have so many people in space saying things. They're stupid people. They're stupid fucking morons. And all right, I understand. Lower IQ. I understand. I understand dumb motherfuckers. But there is something deeper than that. And the people who are putting out, the information spinners. And those who are doing the disinformation campaigns, who are the prime architects, and the people who are backing them up. And then you have some of these public officials. These guys have to be held accountable for this. They have, and if people start getting killed, people are getting close to getting killed. Somebody's going to die before the 20th. No doubt about it. I mean, the Proud Boys were doing the dirty, and came close. And they had one brother who was protecting himself against these guys. But these guys were coming in stabbing people. One person got shot in Washington. I mean, these guys have been at it. Go ahead.
I would say that, telling the Wolverine Watchmen, to go take over the Michigan State House, I would say that's pretty brazen, and it's got to be some legal ramifications for that as a sitting president, man, to call for a coup d'etat of a state governor. I think that I haven't seen that in my lifetime, man. I've probably only been around since Reagan. I haven't seen anything like that before.
I haven't seen it. Mike, nobody's seen that. Come on. You may have the crazy who may come out here and threaten anybody. There are crazies out here who threaten people. Governors get threatened and everything else like that routinely. They do. But something like this, where there was a plot, the FBI planted somebody in there and watched this thing literally evolve and come to fruition, where they were ready to move. They were ready to move on this woman. Had they not known about this, they would have scooped this woman up and they would have taken her ass out. And okay, they got the people who were involved with this. But still, the hypers, the people who were hyping this up, much of this is coming out of the White House. This is coming dead bang straight out of the White House. And the president is not putting a kibosh on this at all. Proud Boys, stand back, stand by. He said this shit. This is on tape video. You can see it. You can play this in an endless loop. You can put this shit in a rap record.
He also said this.
Win, lose, or draw in this election, will you commit here today for a peaceful transferal of power after the election? There has been rioting in Louisville. There's been rioting in many cities across this country, red and your so-called red and blue states. Will you commit to making sure that there is a peaceful transferal of power after the election?
Well, we're going to have to see what happens. You know that I've been complaining very strongly about the ballots, and the ballots are a disaster.
I understand that, but people are rioting. Do you commit to making sure that there's a peaceful transferal of power?
We want to get rid of the ballots, and we'll have a very peaceful. There won't be a transfer, frankly. There'll be a continuation. The ballots are out of control. You know it. And you know who knows it better than anybody else? The Democrats know it better than anybody else. Go ahead.
The second question is, will you?
Well, we're going to have to see what happens. You know that I've been complaining very strongly about the ballots, and the ballots are a disaster.
I understand that, but people are rioting. Do you commit to making sure that there's a peaceful transferal of power?
We want to get rid of the ballots, and we'll have a very peaceful. There won't be a transfer, frankly. There'll be a continuation. The ballots are out of control. You know it, and you know who knows it better. A very peaceful. there won't be a transfer, frankly. There'll
It's the
be
music.
the ballots are out of control. You know it. And you know who knows it better than anybody else? The Democrats know it better than anybody else. Go ahead.
Hey, that's straight from this guy's mouth. Okay.
Yeah,
Straight from his.
before the election.
Yeah, I think I think what you all were talking about a little bit earlier with regards to the actual people and the militias. With those, I think you just got to identify these people. You got to start somehow identify them, figure out where they work, and that's how you take care of them. Like they did that with the Charlottesville people. A reporter basically went, these guys made the mistake of walking around showing their face. People identified them, send them a note at their job like, hey, this is what you support. And, they ended up getting fired. One guy was working in the defense industry, I think even had a clearance and I believe lost that as well, too. So I think that's how you got to go at it with the actual militia people. But for the actual funding they get, I think you got to go after them legally.
This is going to be such a huge dragnet for the next maybe 8 years to 10 years.
Oh yeah,
They're going to go after every one of these guys, every last one of them, man.
They should. DC got cameras downtown, so they should have some of these people on tape.
No, those cameras have artificial intelligence built into them. I think we covered an article on the Brain Trust about a year or so ago about these cameras picking out people in crowds, man. And now they're trying to kind of cover that up. But we've known that they had the technology. We didn't see them happening in real time action. Now we see the application taking place. These guys who showed their faces, there's gonna be a huge dragnet. 73 million people supported this guy. Anybody who's been affiliated with this dude is highly finished at this point. After January 20th, you're highly finished. No lawyer is going to take on this case for you.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, Mike. I agree with that.
That's another thing.
Not to mention the jurisdiction. Oh, go ahead, Memo-T.
That's another thing. Legal representation. What law firm is going to be the law firm to actually do? I mean, they're going to be charging astronomical amounts of money so that way they can be able to survive this sort of thing. And I don't think it's going to happen. I think these guys are going to be highly screwed, and this is going to be the end of it.
Not to mention the jurisdiction that they're in. I mean, you're probably not going to run into the most favorable. If you get pulled up on a crime, you're not going to run into the most favorable jury, the sympathetic, or judge. If you're talking about DC,
in a Democratic held White House, not likely.
No. DC gonna be a problem. You ain't gonna want to get pulled up in there and be pulled in front of a crowd where you're gonna have a decent percentage of black folks in there, and some of them who have gone to some of those churches to one or two of those churches. Those people were tearing out the frame. So that's a fucking problem. But more so than that, I do believe that there are going to be some law firms out here that are going to certainly protect these people. They're going to want to see a lot of this racist shit continue to go on for whatever reason. They don't give a fuck as long as the money green on a lot of this. And I think we're at a real crossroads here, man. This is some real shit. This is something I believe, unfortunately, that almost had to happen because. I believe it said it in one of Mike's videos here that he had that we took a lot for granted, and I think we did take a lot for granted, and now here it is. It's being put to the test, and I think this was just a matter of time. At some point in time, it had to come down. It came down now, so we had to see it. But here it is. The president told you, I am not going to accept. Basically, he told you back then, I'm not accepting it. I'm not accepting this election. I'm not going to. Well, he said it. He said he wasn't accepting it.
That was September 23rd, 2020.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
He said it.
We got some trolls in the chat.
Oh, that's fine, man.
That's fine.
No, I'm not worried about them. All right, let's go out to the AP article. McConnell warns off electoral college brawl in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Putting off a messy fight that condemns the Republicans ahead of the Georgia Senate runoffs, the majority leader, Mitch McConnell, warned their fellow GOP senators on Tuesday not to join the president, extended assault on the electoral college results. In public remarks and private meetings, McConnell worked to push ahead to the Biden era and unite the fractured Republican Party ahead of the runoffs that will determine the Senate's control. Yeah, he still wants to keep this stuff up and keep it going. And if this dude loses his actual majority, if not now, he's definitely going to lose it in 2022. There's a majority of the Republican seats are up in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to realize now, throughout elections, there's supposed to be a dog and pony show version of what happens, and then there's supposed to be a time where things get serious. No one switched gears. No one switched gears.
Well, McConnell did call him president-elect yesterday, and then Trump started attacking him on Twitter. So
yeah, well, that's that's the next story I'm about to bring up.
McConnell's ass is on heat. He's got a lot of shit to deal with right now. He can't make too many mistakes right now, and he's gonna have to cut the president loose, and that's that he's gonna have to do that. Yeah.
Here we go. Trump attack on McConnell signals growing distance from the party. After Mitch McConnell congratulates Joe Biden on winning, President tweets, "Too soon to give up." Again, not getting it. Not getting it. I mean, he's still tweeting and all this other stuff. I'm like, bro, listen, man. He knows that he's inciting one of these lunatics to go out there and do something, man.
Oh, for sure.
And he has to be held accountable. Once this stuff happens, he has to be held accountable.
I don't know how they'll be able to pardon him if he incites a mass shooting. I don't know how he'd be able to get away from something like that. I mean, Kyle Rittenhouse was one person away from a mass shooting.
He was
too. I'm not sure if he ever injured anybody else in the process, but 3 people or more is considered a mass shooting in this sort of
environment.
In this sort of environment now. I think because they updated the proceedings for that. So these guys running around stabbing people, I would say that that mass violence as well. I would say that's a form of terrorism. To take down, go to DC, go to specific Black institutions, tear down Black placards and things like that, and set them on fire. That's pretty much domestic terrorism, and he's inciting this stuff. Stand back and stand by. I mean, these are his words.
He said it.
There may not be a peaceful transfer. I mean, he said that 3 months before the election. 3 months.
He planned this. He planned all this shit. He felt that he was going to lose, that there was a good chance of him losing, and he was not going to accept this, and he was going to burn this motherfucker down, and do what he could, maybe to even pull a coup, maybe a legal coup on the government and try to hang in here. He's going to try whatever he can, and he's true to his word. He's not playing around, and he's powerful in his space with respect to his savages and his minions and his cult that he's got going right now. He's powerful there. They will pledge allegiance to him as opposed to the nation. He's like a David Koresh. This is a Koresh mouthpiece out here. Flowing. This is what's going on.
I mean, you had good Americans like Renaissance Man in DC barricaded in his place of stay with his IKEA furniture against the door, making sure that Missouri don't try to break in and kill him. I mean, that's what was going on, man.
Fuck.
He was coddled right under his box spring with his laptop on a live stream, with his mic muted.
Hey, is DC not? Yeah, is DC not Georgia? You can't, you got to have a registration, and even then they're harsh about guns. So I guess you got to retreat in your house.
Yeah.
They're harsh about guns.
If you think Trump didn't push the button and say, "Hey, that guy Grandmaster Jay, take him down now. Take him down."
Yeah.
Before I leave office, I'm taking a couple of these guys down with me.
Yeah. That's the shit I'm talking about. That this guy can fucking release the Kraken and have all kind of whack shit going on. And I saw this one Republican was I don't know if it was a legislator or what. I've been seeing so much news recently, but the woman was like, "Well, if the president releases us on this, then we'll stand down. If the president releases us, like he's got a hold over my brain, he's got a hold over everything. if he releases us from this.
They're
Like
gonna
this
have
guy,
to.
like this
No.
guy's walking around with the powers of God or something. I mean, it's fucking ill. You know, if he tells us to stand down, we're good. That's what this thing is hinging on. They're leaving it on this guy like he is a potentate. It's ill, fellas. This shit is ill.
No,
Go ahead.
Twitter's gonna have to take down his account and Facebook. They're gonna have to. If you
Well,
have
as
Facebook.
a private citizen, they can. Yes, yeah, as a private citizen, they are. Yeah, they're not gonna let him get off like that. But
Because
That's going
But
to
the
happen.
question is, what's this guy going to do before he leaves? This guy's got 5 weeks to do the most. He's got 5 weeks to do the most.
So MOT, where does he go after 12 p.m. January 20th? I mean, is he going to just get on the flight? Is he going to? I mean, he has to go to New York and answer to Letitia James.
Well, they got to subpoena him first, Mike.
Well, what's going to happen is probably the military is probably going to take quote unquote custody of the grounds. I don't think he's going to be there on the day. I think that he's probably going to leave after the 6th. He's just going to disappear. You're not going to know where he's at. Everything's just going to keep going on as it. They're going to try to make it look like he's still in the White House when he's not.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think this guy's going to stay in the White House and fight his way out and say, they're pulling me out of here. This is the illegal removal of the president. I think he's going to try some ill shit that day. Hyped up
I think he's gonna I think he may just go on vacation. Like he's got that golf course down in Virginia. He's got Mar-a-Lago. I mean, he could even go to I don't think has he even been to Camp David at all?
No, he can't go there. That's also part of governmental property. No. Don't count on this guy leaving easy, man. I heard this crazy fucker. Maybe Ivanka can talk him out of it. She's probably the only one that can talk him out of this. If she can't talk him out of it, he's gonna be up in that fucking White House, man. I'm telling you, this sick fuck.
No, I don't think he wants to be around an inauguration.
Oh no,
I don't think he wants to be around.
You guys don't think so? Maybe you guys are right. Maybe you gentlemen are right. I'm not here to. I'm just speculating myself. I hope you guys are right about this.
Unless he tries to tell like it's two things. If he could not want to be there because I think when they called the election, he was down in Virginia at his golf course. And, he had to drive back through D.C. and see everyone, pretty much out in the street, partying, dancing, celebrating.
Yeah, exactly. That set him off. That should set him off.
Yeah, that set him off. So I'm sure he's not going to want to be around unless he decides to try to tell, like, a bunch of his people to basically come and try to, disrupt the inauguration with, instead of having a bunch of pro-Biden people, having a bunch of pro-Trump people there, basically, trying to do the same thing to Biden that happened to him.
Maybe he'll have Pence do the walkthrough. At the very least, he'll have Pence do the walkthrough. He'll jettison somewhere else. Where he'll go, I don't know, man. He'll have to go to a red state and kind of camp out there, and kind of start the process of a 2024 possibility to raise enough money because he's going to need it to pay off all of the fucking lawyers and everybody else who works for him.
He's got over $207 million raised already. Okay, he's got he'll probably have upwards of 300 or so million by the time he's got to get out of here. So he's
got debt too.
He's gonna have a big fund. He's gonna have money. Go ahead.
No, he's got debt still to pay off from the campaign though. So not all that's gonna go to 2024 if he runs.
Oh no.
Me knowing this man and knowing how he stiffs him about my own people. He ain't gonna pay a lot of these motherfuckers. A lot of them gonna be holding their Johnsons. Trust me. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. So here's what we got. Now we can have this crack footage from the future. So why don't we look at what's going to happen whenever this guy doesn't leave the White House? So what's going to happen here? So what we're going to do is going to look at this. Yeah, man. So they're gonna be getting this dude to fight here, man. Yeah, man. So we're just gonna show you how how things are going to go down if he doesn't, leave. And it's very important that we know how things are going to go down in the future. He's trying to deposit the rest of his campaign contributions. Yeah, that's him and Mike Pence. Yeah, so apparently it's gonna be a lot of people on board, man. Trying to get him up out of there. And it's just gonna be a matter of time. Yeah, but these are the type of things that we're gonna go through on January 20th when people don't leave when they're supposed to.
No, this MOT, you're fucking cracking me up here. This asshole might try to hang in there. They may have to carry this fucking asshole out of here. This guy's this dude.
No, they will. I mean, he's gonna have a lot of help, and everybody's gonna show up because he's gonna need, like I said. Yeah.
I wonder what's gonna be home for him though, because you got to think. Someone said he made Florida his main, but Florida's a swing state. So, I figure you want to be in one of these, real hardcore pro-Trump states where you don't have to worry about anything. But I'm like, where's Trump going to really want to go?
I don't know.
Like, what state?
His
really
legal address now is Mar-a-Lago. I think he's going back to Florida. He's going back to Florida, man. If they carry or they make carries, either he goes to Florida, he goes to the fucking morgue. But
Yeah,
either way, MOT, this shit.
Or does he go abroad? Does he even stay in America?
Yeah, he stays in America.
Because he got a golf course in like Scotland or something.
Yeah. He's got
Ireland.
Okay.
Yeah. But he's gonna have to answer the subpoenas. He's gonna have to answer the subpoenas coming down from the Southern District.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna have to answer those. Okay. These are gonna be subpoenas. He's gonna get subpoenaed. Yeah, okay. He's gonna be called in to come in to come in. He's gonna have to come in, fam.
Yeah, I mean, that crack footage from the future. We hope it doesn't go down like that. Anything can change. But as of right now, that's how it's gonna go down. So.
MOT. Oh boy.
No, I mean, this is serious business. A lot of these guys in this space are really pretending like, hey, we still got a chance. All right, man. Just like the Cleveland Browns said last year. Come on, man. Like,
and they might not make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
Man, we should play a little Craig Mack right now. Won't be around next year. But anyway,
going back to that video yesterday, Mike, on a certain black YouTuber's channel, black conservative YouTuber. Down in the comments, this guy even said, that's too much to read all at once. I'm like,
Jesus Christ.
I'm like, oh, but fraud is guaranteed, but that's too much to read, and you've admitted yourself that
he's from Harvard, so he's good, right?
yeah, Harvard MBA makes you a cybersecurity expert.
Yeah, Master of Business Administration. So I'm saying this guy still has a megaphone.
Yeah, he does.
On January 20th, they robbed me. Somebody must be held accountable for this, man.
Yeah, and that's all he's gonna say.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Not to mention, if he does that, or he may do it earlier, because you got to think the other thing is with the way he's been basically undermining all the agencies. Firing a bunch of people from Defense Department. Barr resigned, so it's just like if you got these loyalists there, you may have people say, "Hey, here's a threat here." Trump may be like, don't pay attention to that. Something get real out of hand.
No, you can end up in a situation like Gabby Gifford.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she took one in the head. Lucky to be here.
Yeah.
Lucky to be, and she's recovered pretty decently. I have to give her credit for taking a bullet to the fucking brain.
Yeah.
But
Her husband won in Arizona too.
he sure did. And Gabby, you know, she looked good. She actually looked good. I was talking a lot better, and you know, she's come back from a death shot that potentially could have killed her.
Yeah, but that's the sort of rogueness I'm saying. That's the sort of
That's
rogueness
right,
coming out of this.
right.
Coming out of this administration, and you know, the U.S. military made a warship after her. That's already floating, so it's already put to sea. And I'm saying the U.S. military doesn't play games like this. You know, they if they made a warship after her, they're taking this very seriously.
They are, but see, we can say who didn't, that Trump, shut down DHS or did a few things to slow some stuff down in DC, but I'm still very disturbed by that. Very disturbed that a marauding mob was able to come in on a chocolate city with the Confederate forces, the brown shirts, the brown shirts, the black shirts, the brown shirts, the latter day equivalent of the brown shirts were cold swaggering in DC.
And they had a lot of firepower.
A lot of firepower.
I mean, you're talking about a brigade, military brigade, descending upon Washington D.C., and no one did anything.
I'm just very disturbed.
And
very disturbed.
Let's just look back at this Gabby Earl Giffords shooting. This happened on January 18th, 2011, where she was shot point blank in the head. 6 people died, 19 people got injured.
I saw it. I saw it what happened. I saw it when it went down. Couldn't believe it.
This guy, who looked like Glenn Beck, the guy who did the shooting. He had like this crazy looking look on his face. And it's like,
do you remember the motive? Like what he cited? He didn't do like a manifesto or something, did he?
He did.
He did write the reason as to why he was doing this, but it was.
Yeah, I mean, you had Sarah Palin having like targets over like congressmen's heads and stuff.
Yeah.
And and it's like that type of stuff led to this, and she took no responsibility for what happened.
None at all.
It says he planned to assassinate Giffords. He was fixated on Giffords.
Man, wanted to kill her, and he almost did. He hit his target. He certainly did that. Hit his target.
Yeah, point blank range.
Straight to the fucking head. Thank God he didn't plant it right in the middle of her skull, because she definitely would have gone. At that stage, she out of here instantaneously. But we caught enough of her to where he clipped her brain. He clipped the brain, bro. So he took a headshot. She was very lucky to have survived this. She's lucky to be here. So especially even in the condition that she's in, which she's had some very good recovery and so forth. But yeah, she's very lucky to be alive.
I think they changed the gun laws based on this shooting.
They did.
Yeah. High capacity magazines. I think you can't buy them in Massachusetts.
Yeah. You can't buy that
like the next sentence
in New York. I mean, but you can still make any of these weapons. If you can get a semi-automatic weapon, you can make them automatic fully. We know this.
No, you can, but the idea of walking into a shop to buy it is where it stops, right? That's the main objective for the For the
they had the assault weapons ban, but you can still get an AR-15 in New York. You can get one. You can get one here. Not in the city, but you can get one out here in Westchester and further up county. Damn sure can get one. So you can get
last sentence here. The last 2 sentences. Some commentators criticize the use of harsh political rhetoric in the United States, with the number blaming the political right wing for the shooting. In particular, Sarah Palin was criticized for a poster by her political action committee that featured stylized crosshairs on the electoral map, which include Giffords. Palin rejects claims that she bore any responsibility for the shooting. Come on, man. Like, bro, listen. if there had been a person who was black who went and did that, and some other, like a dude from like the
dude
not
from
fucking around coalition who had like crosshairs, dude, they would prosecute the hell out of that dude. It wouldn't even be a question.
No doubt.
He waved his flashlight at a federal officer, and they
Yeah.
you imagine that, man.
Yeah.
These guys marched in Richmond, Virginia, where it was a no firearm zone, and nothing happened.
And they were there fucking armed. They were there armed.
So if they wanted to do something, the time to do it and the time for law enforcement to react will be too late. It's too late. They can take the house. They can do whatever. Look at what happened in Michigan.
But look what happened in
They're already
Charlottesville.
on the scene with guns already.
But look what
They're
happened
already on
in
the scene with guns
Charlottesville.
already.
Say that
Look
again.
what happened in Charlottesville. Look what went down there. And then they had another one the week after. That was there. That was done. It came out there again. Nobody gave it at night, and nobody gave it any airtime, but they were out there again.
Mm-hmm.
The fuck, man?
Well, what? Go ahead, MOT. You want to say something?
No, that's it. You can go ahead.
No. What I'm saying here is, man, a force like that armed, you don't have the law enforcement doesn't have a real response to that. I mean, they had MRAPs against Black Lives Matter protesters with placards. With placards. Trump sent a drone, a Global Hawk drone over Minnesota to watch the protests, to keep an eye on them. And people say, "Well, what fascism? What do you mean fascist? You mean like Mussolini, Tortellini? I used to have those when I was a kid. My SpaghettiOs. Man, these dudes are so fucking highly finished, man. It's
No, they are highly finished. They are highly finished.
SpaghettiOs, Mussolini, Tortellini.
Oh my God, these guys are done. They're finished.
Yeah, but this is where we are, man. Like we're here because of this guy, and recklessly one of these dudes, and it doesn't take a lot. They're already there. They're already armed. You already have the environment for it.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing it's going to take for one of them dudes to just have an off moment inside their head of fantasy, they're going to be threw down or something, and next thing you know, it's going to be a bloodbath.
No, I mean, they may not even use firearms. Like the guy in Charlottesville, he just used a vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Smashing through. But look at all the people who got beaten down earlier. I mean, there was a lot of violence that went on there. It was an immense amount of violence. There were beat downs. He had one brother who was assaulted, had a camera on him and said, police, look at this. These guys assaulted me. What are you going to do? You suppose we're going to do? No, we're been told not to get involved. Brother getting beat down by a bunch of fucking crazy ass mazungas. And then he asked the police, what are you going to do about this? And they did nothing. Then a little bit later on, this guy comes ramming through with a Dodge Charger, people flying in the air, and then this woman getting crushed between the wall and his front bumper. Killed her right there. She was gone before the guy pulled back. And then he was pulling back, ready to run over more people. There was a tremendous amount of egregious violence that went on. You know, nobody's been fucking putting a check on none of this shit. You know what I mean? Nobody's been putting a check on any of this. None of this.
Because if you're right wing, you can do that. You can do that.
They're not checking these dudes, man. They're letting these guys run amok, man. They're letting them run amok. And the only thing that's going to make them is more greedy, more hungry for more. You know, I mean, this shit here in DC, it's got me tremendously disturbed. This is very disturbing. Very disturbing. The brown shirts ran amok in the nation's capital against black churches and your people. The brown shirts. You know, you guys study this shit. Study it. Study your history. Study the history. Read who these people were. This is not a game.
Let's look at this clip here from a year ago. Fair use, man. Fair use.
The demands of foreign diplomacy are not keeping President Trump off Twitter. Today, at around 1:30 in the morning, London time, by the way, he went after Bette Midler, then Chuck Schumer, And then several hours later, this, writing, if the totally corrupt media was less corrupt, I would be up by 15 points in the polls based on our tremendous success with the economy, maybe best ever. But one group of Americans may beg to differ. Truck drivers who say Trump's tax bill is not only putting them out of business, but putting the American economy at risk. Our own Morgan Radford sat down with a handful of long-haul truck drivers. What did they have to say?
They had a lot to say, Chris. You might actually be surprised to find out that trucking is a $725 billion industry, and 1 in 16 jobs in the U.S. goes to a trucker. But this particular group, who I spoke to in Jackson, Georgia, they say the promises made by the president to put them first weren't exactly the promises kept. So they started a protest and are now sounding the alarm that the rosy economic picture the president is now painting is not exactly what they're seeing through the windshield.
After working as a truck driver for 20 years, Billy Bogar is thinking of calling it quits.
How hard are things for truckers right now?
Almost impossible, really.
Now he's one of thousands of truck drivers throughout the country, hoping to get the White House's attention with a new protest group called Black Smoke Matters, named after the exhaust smoke that used to come from big rigs.
Do you feel like this administration is listening to you as truckers?
No, ma'am.
No, they're not listening, not at all.
A mix of Republicans, Democrats, and independents.
How many of you voted for the president in the last election? 1, 2, 3.
Many of their complaints are unique to trucking, like parking costs and a lack of training for new drivers.
You'll receive.
But they say some of their issues affect all Americans, like the Republican-led tax bill.
How many of you, by a show of hands, saw your taxes increase this year?
Oh, they all went up, yeah.
1, 2.
Yeah, this year they went
1,
up.
2.
Yeah.
All of you? So most of you saw your taxes increase.
The reason? Something called a per diem. In the past, truckers could deduct things like food and daily expenses from their taxable income. Now, with Trump's new tax bill, they no longer can.
I have a young family at home, and with our per diem, they took the per diem out. That made an $8,000 difference.
$8,000.
What I personally paid.
So what were you paying in taxes last year?
Nothing.
A hit that comes especially hard after promises made by the president.
America first means putting American truckers first.
You said you also believe the president would help truckers. Do you think he's doing a good job now?
No, I don't. I mean, there's nothing that he's doing to help us out here in any way possible. I mean, none.
Mr. Trump ran on the platform of doing away with the Obama bad regulation. Well, he quite well done that for, I'm going to say corporate America, but us blue collar America, we've got regulations that we had when Obama was in office. And I would like to ask him, why didn't he do away with the bad regulations for us, the independent owner operator?
A trend they say should be concerning for everyone.
Have you all ever thought about quitting?
Yes,
Yeah.
every day.
Every day.
We want the American dream. We want to be part of having to be able to strive to do better, to take care of our families, and do a good job for the American people.
The American dream's getting further away. It's
really
becoming
is.
unattainable.
Yeah.
Whether you're at home or on the road.
$8,000. Wow, Morgan. So what has the White House said about all of this, especially about those per diems?
So the White House said that based on recent rate cuts, as well as enhanced child tax credits, it should basically offset the need for those deductions. But they said that they are willing to work with Congress to help any of those truckers who are seeing those lack of deductions.
That's a lot of money. I'm curious if any of the three who say they voted for Trump will vote for him again.
They said they certainly do not think that he is going to have their vote, but they're still waiting to see.
Hey there. Yeah, and see, I'm playing this so that people understand that this was long coming for Trump. Now, MOT, you're a truck driver. Any comment on it?
Yeah. So what happened? Well, I have a company and I don't take a salary from my company. But what they did is they took away, like the per diem, I think it was, because I write off everything for me, no matter what it is. But I think it was about $30 to $45 per day that you were out, that you got the write off of your total taxes.
Isn't it? I was gonna say, isn't it the same? Doesn't it vary by? Is this the same like state rate of per diem? Like whenever you? Okay, it's different.
No, it's federal, and it's specifically for the industry of transportation. And what these people were able to do is they were able to write off $15,000 off of their total salary, off of their overall tax bill, right? And that made them effectively not pay any taxes. So when the actual tax bill went through, they took away that deduction. So these people had to pay, I think, anywhere from $2,500 to like $3,500 a year at the end of the year more, because they used to not pay any taxes at all and not get a return. And then they had to have deductions from their actual stuff at the end of the year. A lot of people just used to have zero, and they used to take all the money home and have like a minimal tax bill because they used to offset with the actual per diem. So that way they didn't owe anyway. So that way they would have extra money coming home per week.
Was that a credit MOT or was it a deduction?
That's a deduction.
Okay. I mean, you always want tax credits because that will reduce your dollar for dollar tax bill, but deductions can do a lot as well too if you got enough of them.
Yeah, I think they got rid of like the home exemption or something to that effect too, and it also made people tax bill higher just to give corporate America stuff. So
yeah,
there's a lot of people in those circumstances, and a lot of people might have voted for Biden, but none of those people are right wing, man.
Yeah. The other thing too.
There's not a bunch of right wing, left wing people in trucking at all, as evidence as you turn on that damn CB.
The other thing too is if you didn't get that adjusted on your taxes at the beginning of the year, you got hit with that bill at the end of the year. Once you filed, thinking, "Oh, I'm good," they came back, "No, you actually owe more."
Yeah.
So it can sneak up on people if you weren't careful about it.
Yeah, and a lot of people found out only at the end of the year that that's what happened because they wasn't keeping track of what was going on. And then all of a sudden, all these people just had these tax bills that was like, well, I never paid this much taxes before. And then like people were finding out that none of those standard deductions weren't even there anymore, or else they just started disappearing per year because it didn't hit every industry at the same time. But overall, it meant for all industries at some certain point. So those people didn't even see it in like the first couple of years, but it did happen in like 2018.
Yeah, right? Now that you say that, I think they had the same thing with my company. They were talking about like a research and development tax credit that they've been able to defer, but they were saying they were basically trying to look at Congress, basically trying to repeal it. Otherwise, it was going to cost the company, I can't even remember how much money, close to $1 billion or something like that.
Yeah, these guys were Trump supporters. They voted for Trump.
Yeah,
they were down with him in the beginning, and this was only just less than a year ago. And these guys are saying, "Hey, time around, I'm not supporting this guy." That was months ago before COVID. So this guy's problem existed long before it. People were trying to say, "Oh man, this thing is all rigged." How about these working class guys, man? These truck drivers.
They were speaking on it.
Yeah.
But Trump, he planned this. This whole thing that he's got going on here is planned. It was a planned move. I mean, even Stop the Steal. This was started by Roger Stone, and they started raising money on this back in 2018. This is how far back this goes. You know, so this was something that they've been planning. You know, because they thought that this could happen. So let's head this bad boy off, and when it does come down, this is how we're going to deal with it. And here they are.
And you got black conservatives who are truck drivers themselves who supporting this guy. You just showed that that clip, Mike, and then we talked about the marijuana industry as well too. That they say they're in. It's like, are you trying to destroy your own industry right now?
I mean, these guys are going against their own interests in so many ways. I have to call them stupid.
That's why when people say, "Oh, well, how did Biden get so many votes?" There you go, right there. Go look at that news clip. There's thousands of these truck drivers running around saying, "Hey, man, fuck this guy. I'm out of here, man."
not to mention military votes. A lot of places, Biden got a lot of the military that Trump lost support with.
Yeah.
The military does not like this guy. That's why this guy's got a problem. I've got both of my, fraternity brothers and very close friends who I've known for 40 years. These guys know the deal on what's going on here. They don't like him. So he doesn't have, a lot of friends inside of that, inside of the military, or in this deep state where you have a lot of these guys who are involved in these other agencies who are going to be there for many years, that they're not down with this guy. This guy's got problems. So looking at it ways.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
No, the thing is, voter irregularities. That's pretty irregular right there. That's gonna cause an irregularity too. Some truck drivers that supported you in 2016 suddenly don't support you in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, because that tax thing is a stab in the back to these people.
Yeah.
Like, I got a lot of people coming at me for like what happened. I'm like, dude, like this is from the tax bill that he passed. Like it can't be, because I would have noticed it right away. I'm like, dude, it didn't hit for all industries at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I had to call like a meeting and sit down and like, this is what happened. This is the tax law. This is what disappeared. Those people were mad as shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can understand it. Shit, I can definitely understand that.
Yeah, I mean,
let's read this article real quick. Judge rules Georgia does not have to immediately restore the purge voters. Like, this is what I mean, man. This stuff has to be illegal when they actually do these types of things, man.
Hold it. So, and that was part of the Greg Palast suit. So Greg Palast and they all sued to get these people, these purge voters, put back on, and they thought they would get a favorable decision. And they're saying that the judge is saying that they don't have to put them on as of yet. Is that right?
Right away. Not right away.
Not right away.
So they're just basically trying to drag their feet.
Drag them out, slow them down, so they don't make it. So they don't make it for the 5th. That's the game that these guys are playing. That's another form of voter suppression, and the judges are in on this shit, And that's part of the fight that's going on. And Greg Palast, who I told you guys about, Mike's been playing some clips of his videos. Who's an exceedingly sharp individual. He's been down there since Stacey Abrams' election, hammering these people. And he may have a recent video. I don't know if Mike has it, but he had a recent video where he was actually expressing what was happening. I don't know, Mike. I don't know if you have that video. Maybe you can find it, pull it up, and put it on. It's quick.
I think we played it the other day.
Did you play it the other day? Would you want to play it again? Possibly. I don't know if you want to drop that again. It's up to you. I mean, I'm just saying, but important, that he just read this, and that this needs to be seen so people know what's going on. I know intimately what's happening here because these guys are fighting against this, literally in the streets and in the courts. But this is the game these guys are playing against you, and yet at the same time they're dispatching brown shirts in the streets and doing a lot of the craziness. And this shit is fucking ill. This shit is ill, man. I've not seen, I know the 60s was hot and heavy, and I was a very young kid when a lot of shit was going down. And I remember, walking out in Harlem, Umgawa, Black Power, and all that kind of stuff. I remember all that shit when I was a kid doing all this. But this shit here, it's, man, this is this has got me nervous. This has got me looking, oh man, we need to be looking at this quite seriously. And without a doubt, in my view, there should be legal charges, criminal charges in some respects, put against many of these people going against the state. I really feel that that's how to settle a lot of this out.
And we can delay January 5th if we need to, but it needs to be a fair
This is
election.
Zach G. Roberts reporting for the Palast Investigative Fund from the Southern Cooking Restaurant in McDonough, Georgia on December 5th, 2020. FreedomWorks, the organizers of this event, is a Koch brothers founded organization that was instrumental to pushing the Tea Party back in 2010. Tea Party, once famous for having its supporters show up at town halls of Republicans and heckling them from the right, is having a problem at their own meetings with members of the die-hard MAGA and Stop the Steal crowd, continuing that tradition. Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs's speech was focused on getting out the vote for the January 5th runoff election. The audience wanted to talk about something else, though.
How is Congress going to stop this deal? Yeah, how are we going to vote on a system that is already corrupt and going to steal it from us again? I'm going to tell you right now. Paper ballots is what we need. Yeah. And we need to push Congress to tell Governor Kemp for a special election so that we can pull it together and we can actually stop this steal. We can all go and we can vote, but it's not going to do a damn bit of good if we don't take it back.
I'll tell you what. I tell everybody there, and I would tell them today, if you sit on your butt at home, it doesn't make a bit of difference.
Many in Georgia claim to be ready to take physical action against elected leaders if they don't get their way.
If you're not going to stand up for the American people, then we're coming for you. The American people are coming for you, guaranteed. This country is at a boiling point, and we will not. I fought for this country. I'm a combat veteran. I spent 13 years in the Army myself. I am not about to lay down and let communist China or anyone else come in here and take our country over. We will, if all else fails, we will perform like every other country out there that has gone after dictators. Cuomo in New York, de Blasio, all of them that are dictators, Whitmer in Michigan, we will drag you from the office. And this country, patriots are standing up. And we're not stupid. We're coming for you.
Wow.
Listen to this, man.
But you're not coming after Trump.
Just listen to this shit, man. Listen to these motherfuckers, man. I mean, just look at this guy. Look at this guy, man.
He's a veteran. If he's collecting any veteran coverage or insurance or benefits, man, yank him.
I mean, these guys are threatening you. They're saying, we're coming to kill you. We're coming to kill you. And he's naming people we're coming after. Oh. Where are the authorities on this? Where are the authorities? Why are people not fucking snatching these motherfuckers up?
The crazy thing is too with the whole, that's what they're worried about down in Georgia is they're worried about people basically saying, Trump's pushing stop the steal and it was rigged. They're worried about people just not showing up at all because they think it's rigged. So almost backfiring.
Well, that's what's going on. But why are there not black trucks coming out of fucking left field now and grabbing these guys and renditioning these motherfuckers?
Grabbing them, throwing them in vans.
Where
marked cars.
Where the unmarked black vehicles at now? And the dudes coming out in camouflage and grabbing these motherfuckers.
Questioning people.
Threatening to kill your elected officials. They could threatening this. Do you guys see what's going on here? I mean, do you guys see what's going on here? I know some people are good with this, but how can you be either a true conservative, okay, or a real patriot and sit here and accept this?
And black people are on the receiving end of all the calamity.
They're coming after your vote. This is going on in Atlanta, GA. This is not going on in this ain't going in Arkansas. This is not going on in in Utah and shit. This shit is going on in your black communities.
Where's that guy, L.A. Divine from last week, talking about, I'm in West Philly. I see BLM and Antifa burning down things. Hey, you got a guy right here saying they're going to descend up on the nation's Cuomo. These guys are in Georgia. Why are they worried about Cuomo and de Blasio? I don't get that part, man.
In New York. Oh, no. These are liberal New Yorkers. Let's fuck them up. What? You talking about Cuomo right now? You come up to Cuomo, fam? What are you talking about? And you're an Atlanta GA, fam? Really?
They called Cuomo a dictator. Cuomo was two-time elected, man. What are you talking about?
A dictator, and he's sitting here right now trying to, we're here in New York State.
Not from his state, but he cites somebody that's okay.
Yeah,
it's not even close to his state. Nowhere close. But yet he's talking about New York. And we're dealing with a COVID problem that one of the biggest ones out. He's trying to tamp it down again, and here we are, and this guy's talking about killing them, talking about killing these other people.
Yeah.
I mean this shit is unbelievable, man. This is unbelievable. And
let me play something real quick.
Go ahead.
All right, remember Occupy Wall Street?
Oh yes.
Look at the police. Yeah. Let me play another one. Showing you them.
I'll tell you the worst one, MOT, that I've seen up in your area where they had they had people playing violins for Elijah McCoy. People out there with violins, and you start seeing these guys with batons and masks and pepper spray and just run through this crowd, and it's like, really?
Okay, let me just play this right here. That was wrong video. Let me play this one right here.
Fair use.
Yeah, no, that's pepper spray.
This is the shocking moment. Cops at the University of California in Davis clamped down on around a dozen youngsters protesting against tuition fees and police brutality as part of the Occupy movement. The two officers in this video have been suspended on full pay whilst the university investigates what happened. The demonstrators had originally been given permission to gather in the university's quad, but were told not to set up tents or stay overnight or over the weekend. However, they remained for several days, and so campus police were sent in to move them on.
Yeah, this is America.
Methods have caused outrage among staff and students and online. Campus Chancellor Linda Catty acknowledged the incident had been poorly dealt with.
I do understand the unfortunate and
yeah.
Yeah, this
None of
guy
those people
said,
were armed. None of those people were armed.
yeah. Yeah, but you have these guys in this space aligning themselves with the guy from the Great Palace video. Aligning themselves up with him. I'm a patriot. Oh, really? Really? You're not a patriot unless you believe in equal justice under the law, man. What are you talking
They don't believe in that. They don't even believe in democracy. But they got these guys running around here talking the fucking illest, pure sedition. I mean, and they're talking murder. We're coming for you. What does that mean? We're coming for you, to come shine your shoes? No, I don't think so. I mean, what are these guys talking about? I mean, I find this unbelievable. I find this incredible. And these people are not hiding their faces. They're sitting on camera saying this shit.
It's only a matter of time before one of these guys take control over a dump truck from a construction site and run that thing through a crowd. Only a matter of time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was going to say, too, they already were talking about today how there's a surge in early voting in Georgia, and then you got over 1 million mail-in ballots already requested, too.
Yep. I know what's going on down there on a regular and daily, and they're going to doors, and you've got now white folks, and I'm hearing this. You've got white folks sitting there saying, "Yeah, we don't like what's going on. Some of us will have to vote. We can't support what some of these people are talking about." So you have some white people down there voting against their own party for what they're saying. You are not going to hear about this. That's why they're cutting back all these. They're trying to fucking suppress votes. They didn't want as many polls stations open. They are fucking up their own vote. You got white people stepping back from some of this craziness, from some of it. I'm not saying what the percentages of them are, but I'm just going on what I'm hearing from some of the people that I know who are down there. And I see if I can get Vaughn on this channel. I'll see if I get him to talk, because he'll come out here. He'll spit so much fire up in this motherfucker. It's gonna get people up in here tight. Not anybody on the panel, but people in this chat room. Some of the trolls, they're gonna get tight hearing what's going on. But I'm gonna see if I can get a hold of him and get him up in here. And this shit is exceedingly live, man. So I don't know what's gonna go on, but the seditious stuff that I'm hearing from some of these other Mazungas talking crazy. I don't know what's going to happen, people. I'm just telling you. Our ballot, our vote right now is exceedingly strong. There are those who do not want us to have it. And, and use it with the devastating effect that we're going to have with this. This is a tremendous problem that those that don't want us to have this, and where this is going to lead, especially with the uncomfortable feelings of the lower white middle class community that's fairly large, where they're feeling that their place is at risk, currently, is at risk. That's who you got to really worry about, and they are very dangerous.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Nagone, you've got the race down in there in Georgia. Essentially, Purdue won't even debate Ossoff, and then Loeffler's running around talking about Jeremiah Wright and communism, socialism, and all this other craziness. No one got really a message. So people.
And they're floating her picture around where she was sitting up there with that Klansman who shot that who beat that brother down.
Yep.
Some smaller, kind of weaker brother. He was out there with his crew, jack stomping people, and he, they got her cozied up with this dude, and they're running out all over the place. Some folks look at this saying, I hadn't really signed on for that. That's what some people are saying. This is a problem. So
you can't, especially in Atlanta, the Atlanta area, you got a lot of businesses, a lot of corporations there that just they're not going to be rocking with that image of hey, we're cut up of a Klansman here. You can get away. Yep, go ahead.
And you got black money coming in there. You got black money. You've got whites and blacks. There's money involved in this thing down here. People are involved in business. Black people are a big part of the economy. You are part of the mix. You're in the mix economically. A lot of these guys can't fuck with it like that. They can't come in there and tear you out the frame and say, this ain't the 1930s down there now. It's a different game. So a lot of these white folks are backing away from this shit because of economic interests. That's the problem. That's what's going on. You're not going to hear this shit being talked about. That's why these guys were trying to cut down the amount of people that you have to vote. That's why you had this son of a bitch from South Carolina talking about any ballots you see that you just start scrubbing ballots just for the fuck of it. This is the shit these guys are going to be planning to do.
You waste taxpayer money.
This is what they're trying to do, man. This shit is serious. This is serious. These cats may lose.
Yeah, that's the thing too. They lose. You're right. You got something to be nervous about, definitely, because that demographic map only gets worse and worse. And Republicans, lose the Senate seats down there. I don't see them legitimately having a real shot at any real power again until 2024. And that demographic map is just going to work against you, as well as you got the census.
Okay, Stacey Abrams and Joe Biden won in Newt Gingrich's old district. They won there. This is 2018 and 2020. They won there 2 times in a row. 2018, 2020. What do you think is going to happen in 2024? What the fuck, man? And look at the shit these guys are running. You got to look at this thing here. I know what's going on. I'm just saying, this is what's going down, and people are not looking at what's happening. All right, they're not looking at what's happening. That's why the Mazunga's out there talking about over there in Atlanta, who's one of them far right terrorists talking about we coming to get you. These guys are not playing. You got to understand, our vote is hitting very hard down there, very hard. Still, I'm done.
Oh, man.
So here's the other thing. That's also a problem here. This is before a mass casualty event happening. This is the environment before a mass casualty event happening. I cannot repeat that. This is the environment. These people are going to have to recover their brand, not only from Trump, but for what happens after this dude doesn't leave the White House and everything else. It could destroy their whole party. Because as soon as this dude is out of the White House, he is going to be spoiling every single election, Tea Party style, with his own people.
Oh yeah, it's done. There's no. Trump has let the cat out of the bag. There's just you're going to either have to just pretty much kick people out of the party and lose for several cycles, or go start your own. Because you got too many people who, you know, went along with craziness, signed on that Texas lawsuit. You got too many Trumpers in the party, and Tea Partiers who kind of, you know, brought this whole thing on. You know, you could argue Sarah Palin was kind of the first mainstream, you know, Republican that just sort of brought the whole Know Nothing movement to the party.
Sure did.
And McCain picked her too by trying to appeal. That's the crazy thing.
Well. That really was more Steve Schmidt and them who did that.
Yeah.
You know, he's running around with the Lincoln Foundation and going out there, but he picked this fucking broad. All right, and that whole move was to kind of pull some of those other elements more to the center, but bring it more into McCain's realm, because McCain wasn't really seen as a far right wing type of guy, and then he and you know, she was supposed to appeal to these people as or you know, these folks, if you will, and they didn't really consider them far right. And then when they started to see what this thing really was, you know, Schmidt and them created a monster. So as much as Schmidt has been very successful, in my view, as far as he's trying to counter some of what he created, he's part of the problem. He brought this shit in, brought it in. I mean, he's tried to destroy some of it. That I'll give him credit. He has attempted to do something.
It's too late though,
and has been eloquent about it. But he brought this shit in too. He brought her in. He picked her. All right.
Oh yeah, McCain regretted picking her. I mean, he didn't come out and say it, but I mean, all the people around him said, you know, he definitely was regretted that they talked him into doing that.
Well, he regretted after they fucking lost. But let me tell you, when she came out there and before the fucking market dropped, and they were looking at that, they may have been trending right up to Obama, maybe even up 1 point ahead. They wasn't regretting it at that moment. I'm gonna tell you that. I'm gonna tell you that as well. They weren't regretting when that was happening. And the only thing that saved them, and then Obama ran them through, is when they, on Monday the 18th of September, when the market fucking dropped straight into the toilet. That's what turned everything around. But and McCain was that weekend before, the fundamentals of the economy are strong. He said that, and then boom, everything dropped. That's what finished him. But right before that, with picking this Palin woman and him, it was starting to work. It was actually starting to work. They were easily within the margin of error there. And that was problematic. That really was. That's how that was going down. So, you know, that's how it was.
No, but she represents the base of the party, though.
That she does.
Sure do.
She represents the base of the party, and like you just had this Mazunga right on the interview with Great Palace's channel saying, "Hey, you know, we don't get what we want. We're gonna tear some shit up, man."
He said it.
Why would Blasio be this rogue dictator? He's not in your state. Like this is what they think.
Yeah.
This is what they think. And you got people in this space saying, hey, you know, you crazy people on the left, you know, the lefties are crazy. What about this guy? What about these people? What are you talking about?
It's right, Mike. And he's representative of he ain't just speaking for himself.
Yeah. I'm a patriot. Really? How are you a patriot? You want to take down elected officials in states that you don't even register to vote in. You're not registered to vote in New York. What the hell you care about Cuomo for? He's a dictator. What are you talking about? You just had a guy in September say there will be no peaceful transfer of power. You know, stand back and stand by. Like this is this guy saying this. Why are you going after Cuomo and Blasio? Well, he has a black wife. Oh, all right, man. All right.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, that's the illness you're dealing with. So I'm saying, I'm not sure where we're going in, the next couple of weeks. I'm just saying, stand back and stand by. I would tell everybody to do that, because this shit may go Hollywood, and I would not be surprised if it does.
No, Renaissance man, he's thankful he can work from home, man. Doesn't have to go outside. Got Uber Eats and Instacart and shit like that from Whole Foods in DC.
Oh boy.
Never has to leave. I mean, keep in mind, Renaissance man left Alabama. He left the South, man, just to come up here, man. This is what he has to deal with. They followed him all the way up here.
Yeah, no, I was at Georgia first, Mike.
Oh,
It's down in Atlanta. Would have been down there with old boy making threats. Moved up here for a job, and they come and storm the city.
Fucking stormtrooper.
Moving to Boston next, I guess.
Yeah, looking for one person, man. They never found him. They're still there looking for you, man.
That's because Renaissance man wears a hoodie, man.
Yeah,
Running around the manosphere with a hoodie on his head, man. So
I mean, wouldn't even do that with these guys around here. They'd be like, I mean, he had a hoodie on, so had it like Trayvon Martin style. So
yeah,
shoot him, and it's okay. Don't worry. No, he deserved to get shot. He was a thug. He was a thug.
Yeah, he had marijuana in the system. How did you know that?
And he was a thug. He deserved it.
I was going to say, did you all see, switching just topics for a quick second, did you all see that they had a body cam video come out in the Arbery case where, the guy who was filming, he tried to claim, I wasn't involved in all this. He's admitting here on the camera that he pretty much tried to box him in with his truck. Well, go ahead, Marco.
That's why the fucking judge went and grabbed these guys and threw them charges on them. They knew what the deal was. One of the guys who was filming it got has a felony charge on him for kidnapping. Literally holding this guy against his will, trying to box him in and hold him in. They filmed him twice. These guys, the Arbery case, these guys are going down, man. These dudes are going down. These cats are going.
But you had guys in the manosphere literally defending this guy, saying, he should have just stopped and complied and talked to these guys, and it was his fault that he ran. And I'm just like, you want to stop in the middle of South Georgia with guys chasing two trucks with guns and just have a conversation.
One of my Cleveland friends, who's no longer a friend of mine, said these guys deserve what they get. I've cut him off. I met him in Brazil. We've been friends for years. We are no longer friends. That's the level where I'm going. Fuck y'all. Y'all niggas are fucking taking. You taking these positions, I can't fuck with you. The shit is ill. I mean, these guys are declaring war on you. You're accepting it. What madness is this? But yet you're playing this Mazunga over here, telling you we're gonna tail y'all out the frame.
Okay, but what I can't help but stress, these same people who was all about this stuff are now talking about women and dating right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They got to talk about that now. They got to talk about that. They can't talk about anything.
Mad push to restart the actual gender war by the guys who actually are not politically affiliated. They're restarting the gender war. Unbelievable, man.
I wonder too. Here's the thing: they jumped the gun early. I don't wonder if January 6th you're going to come back. There was fraud down in the Georgia election, this, and this, because you haven't heard anything about organizing or, hey, this is what we need to go do. So I wonder if they're going to even talk about it.
No, they can't. Because, it was socialism, communism, all this shit. Once that dude lost, it's kind of like a vanity candidate, man. The vanity candidate lost. They're about to destroy the party that they don't want to organize for. And they're pretty much screwed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because they're not going to organize. Okay, well, look at you, man. What you going to do? Well, hold on a second. No, you don't want to bring it up. Where's your organization? What are you guys going to do? Oh, we ain't going to do nothing. No, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to do shit. Talk about these hoes and get back to talking about that whack shit again. You know what I mean? Because they well, no, this thing ain't over yet, man. We still going to get this thing. Yeah, all right. So that's where we're at. Yeah.
Yeah, let me just read this real quick. This is the Sedition Act of 1798 for the Peanut Gallery. In one of the first tests of freedom of speech, the House passed the Sedition Act permitting the deportation, fine, or imprisonment of anyone deemed a threat or publishing false, scandalous, or malicious writing against the government of the United States. The Fifth Congress, narrowly divided between the majority Federalists and minority Jeffersonian Republicans, voted 44-41 in favor of the Senate-passed bill. Federalists championed the legislation fearing impending war with France and out of the desire to hold the majority in Congress and to retain the White House, then occupied by Federalist John Adams. In an era when newspapers served as a political party's chief organs, the Republican press was particularly vicious in its attacks on Federalists and the Adams administration. Liberty of the press and of opinion is calculated to destroy all confidence between man and man, noted one of the bill's supporters, John Allen of Connecticut. It leads to the dissolution of every bond of union. Republicans defended the First Amendment protecting free speech and press. What will be the situation of the people? James Madison of Virginia demanded, not free because they will be compelled to make their election between competitors whose pretensions they are not permitted by act equally to examine, to discuss, and to ascertain. So what we're looking at here is that a lot of the stuff that you've seen in the manosphere could be modified for today. Malicious writing or posting content, false, scandalous. Yeah. Well,
just wait till somebody die from a mass casualty event. This is exactly what they're gonna get thrown in.
Oh yeah, no, Trump's gonna be facing some backlash for it. Like I said,
Trust me.
Yeah, and then like you said, some of these videos may start getting flagged, or algorithms on YouTube may start striking down streams. It's just you're gonna have to control social media. You have to put some new regulations around this, because Trump's really just exposed the cracks in what you can do.
Stand back, stand by.
Stand back, stand by. But yet I could see, back in the day, old man, he had one of his live streams on. He was talking about these hoes. They shot him out of the skies right in the middle of a live stream. But yet, but literally yet, they threw it. They hit his ass with an Exocet missile. Bang. Blew the back off and dropped him. But now you have these savages up in here streaming, doing all kind of crap talk. And there's no censorship on these guys at all, man. I'm just sitting there wondering, what the fuck is this all about? What's this all about? They blowing guys out of the water on live stream talking about some fucking hoes. But now you get people here talking about sedition, tearing people out the frame, knocking people out the box fully, and they're dipping around, man. With their mouths wide open.
Permitting.
No, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Permitting the deportation, fine, or imprisonment. Deportation. So some of these guys, man, like the guy in the video from the Great Powers video, if he doesn't go to jail, there should be at least a fine, man. Like, what's going on with this guy who's a veteran? They got all the files on him. I'm not sure about this. Are you still government property once you leave the military, or no?
If you're getting VA benefits, you can still be prosecuted under UCMJ. Yes.
Okay. This is where we stand now. Anyone deemed a threat or publishing false,
no one
scandalous,
has, by the way.
No one has been arrested for sedition?
No one has been brought up on charges like being under the UCMJ post service.
Oh,
but
really? Okay.
Can.
Now, but I was going to say MOT, probably with that, I would imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, someone who would fall in that category, they would have probably been discharged dishonorably before that, correct?
No.
Oh, really?
No. Because you can have, there are cases where even with a dishonorable dis or bad conduct discharge, you can still get psychiatric services if they were part of your discharge. So a lot of people get out of the military, they leverage their military service, and they end up staying and being a part of all these organizations and shit when they know they shouldn't be. But the only thing they're doing is leveraging their past military service to try to legitimize whatever group that they're a part of, like these militias and shit.
Yeah, they're targeting them. You got these white supremacist groups that are targeting veterans specifically.
Yeah, because you know, those guys are well trained and they're looking for camaraderie.
Yeah, that or they're sending their guys in. They're recruiting them ahead of time saying, hey, go do a 4-year service, get the skills, and then come back and teach us.
Yeah, and get on the benefits too.
Yeah.
Some of them MREs. I gladly pay you Tuesday for an MRE today. But yeah, this is what's going down, man. False, scandalous, or malicious writing against the government of the United States. Malicious writing. Malicious, scandalous, false. This guy won the election. No, it was stolen. Oh, okay.
Man, people who voted for Trump, you just have to like wonder if they really knew that this was all they were signing up for. Like not the hardcore supporter, but the guy who was sort of on the fence. Guy or girl really who was sort of on the fence and like, oh, I'm just gonna hold my nose, and you know, Hillary and Trump are just as bad. It's like, say what you want about Clinton, you may have got some policies and things you didn't like, but you wouldn't have anything like this.
Nah, man. Nah, these guys have signed themselves up for a lifetime of disenfranchisement. If I'm in the government and I work for DHS, yeah. Let me help people understand something. DHS's role is threat deterrence. Okay, that's their role. Homeland security, threat deterrence. This is what they do. This is the Sedition Act can be taken on by them, not just by the FBI.
Correct.
Can be taken on by them. So you don't know what can happen in the Biden administration. I mean, Biden stands on this morning and says, "Oh, I think we should just move on with our lives." Yeah, okay. You say that now, up until one of your Democrats gets shot, like Gabby Giffords did, and then you got a big problem on your hands. Then you really got to start taking action against 73 million rogue people in your country.
Yeah, and you got to remember, DHS was created in response to 9/11. Yeah. So, you know, you start really talking about these guys and groups that are, you know, labeled domestic terrorism, you can definitely, you know, fall under that label and they can send all those resources after you.
Yeah, what happened to all those hood conservatives and whatnot that were posting content before about we still have the Second Amendment? Oh, really? Scandalous and malicious writing, man. What are you guys doing? And who are you going to practice the Second Amendment on? That's not what the Second Amendment was even for. Let's put the Second Amendment for real quick, because these guys just, you know, they stretch out information.
They really think that their understanding of the Second Amendment means that they can bully the government or people with actual weapons. That's what their understanding of the Second Amendment is for some dumbass reason.
Let's pull it up. It's the Constitution. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Nothing about marching on DC and nothing about, I mean, as far as I know, America's still a free state. I mean, that's what we have the National Guard for, right? We don't need a militia.
Correct. I mean, because that is the state militia.
Yeah.
Actually, regulated by the state. So the state dispatches the National Guard out whenever it needs to be. The state doesn't have any type of jurisdiction over these so-called militia groups.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not a well-regulated militia. And the well-regulated militia is supposed to be there to protect the security of the state.
Yeah. Because back when this was written, you didn't have National Guard. You just had militias.
You did not have that. Yeah.
You just have militias. They operated like big gangs in every state. So,
and there was a lot of rebellions that needed to be put down because those people got guns and they started doing their own thing. And Washington rode out there with a bunch of people and they flattened them. That's what he did.
The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Yeah, if you were,
they really think it's a license to overthrow the government. Like every time you have a conversation with one of these guys, they always like, well, what if we need to overthrow the government? It's like, wow.
Yeah.
It's not what that was about, but I mean, this is what a lot of these people think, man. So I don't know.
But to this point, MOT, to them, a free state means me not wearing a mask. I shouldn't have to be told. I don't like being told that I have to wear a mask. This is not a free state for me anymore. You have to put this piece of cloth on my face to stop me from spreading my bacteria on everybody. What do you mean? This is tyranny.
Well, apparently they don't work. That based on what guy on the panel said yesterday.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. So I guess there's some correlation between this, that because they wear a mask, that it's no longer a free state, and that they have to take up arms because of this stupid mask. The right of the people to keep their arms shall not be infringed. I would think that the National Guard would be the ones that has to keep their arms, right? I mean,
yes, I mean, because there was actual rules to what a state regulated militia kind of was, even back then. There was a certain type of regiments had to have certain types of armament. Like, none of this regulated militia shit has nothing to do with the actual security of the free state. Like,
but they're patriots. They're patriots. They like.
No. They're patriots of their own cause. They're not patriots for the actual country where everybody else rights are being protected. They're here to protect their own interests. And the security of the free state involves everybody with it. Their version of security of the free state means whatever the hell they want is screw everybody else who's outside of that. Again, a lack of equal protection under the law. That's all it just boils down to. It keeps coming back to that.
You mean they're not trying to escort Robert Kraft and Belichick?
No.
Well, they said they're patriots.
This not defending Kaepernick.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. It was a U.S. soldier who told him to take a knee. No smoke for the soldiers, just smoke for Kaepernick. and smoke for what's the race car driver? Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton getting a lot of heat.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What did he do?
He wore a Breonna Taylor shirt.
Oh wow. No, I'm surprised they knew who that was, because you had I believe her name is Cori Bush.
Yeah.
Who is a congresswoman, I think newly elected freshman congresswoman. She wore a mask with Breonna Taylor on it, and you had these congressmen walking around calling her Breonna.
Unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
Let's read this real quick from Cornell. The Second Amendment of the United States Constitution reads a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Such language has created considerable debate regarding the amendment's intended scope. On the one hand, some believe that the amendment's phrase, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, creates an individual constitutional right for citizens of the United States. Under this individual right theory, the United States Constitution restricts legislative bodies from prohibiting firearm possession, or the prefatory language, a well-regulated militia, to argue that the framers intended to only restrict Congress from legislating away a state's right to self-defense. Scholars have come to call this theory the collective rights theory. A collective rights theory of the Second Amendment asserts that citizens do not have an individual right to possess guns, and that local, state, and federal legislative bodies therefore possesses the authority to regulate firearms without implicating a constitutional right. Interesting. In 1939, the U.S. Supreme Court considered the matter in United States versus Miller, 307 U.S. 174. The court adopted a collective rights approach in this case, determined that Congress could regulate a sawed-off shotgun that had moved in interstate commerce under the National Firearms Act of 1934 because the evidence did not suggest that the shotgun has some reasonable relationship to the preservation or efficiency of a well-regulated militia. The court then explained that the framers included the Second Amendment to ensure the effectiveness of the military. I think we just said that. The precedent stood for nearly 70 years when, in 2008, the U.S. Supreme Court revisited the issue in the case of District of Columbia versus Heller. The plaintiff in Heller challenged the constitutionality of the Washington, D.C. handgun ban, a statute that had stood for 32 years. Many consider the statute the most stringent in the nation. In a 5-4 decision, the court, meticulously detailing the history and tradition of the Second Amendment at the time of the Constitutional Convention, proclaimed that the Second Amendment established an individual right for the U.S. citizens to possess firearms and struck down the D.C. handgun ban as violative of that right. The majority carved out Miller as an exception to the general rule that Americans may possess firearms, claiming that the law-abiding citizens cannot use sawed-off shotguns for any law-abiding purpose. Similarly, the court in its dicta found suggested that the United States Constitution would not disallow regulations prohibiting criminals and the mentally ill from firearm possession. Wow. Yeah, this is interesting, man. These guys' perspective on the Constitution, I don't think they really read the Constitution. I think they read that one line and that was it, man. And so in this space, these guys are trying to uphold this idea that Biden is coming to take anything from them. But in reality, they themselves are in violation of the Constitution because they're not a regulated.
Man, that's too much for them to read at once, as one YouTuber says.
Yeah.
Constitution, that's too much to read at once.
Yeah, so what the problem is that every time I try to break down, what this is, I'm like, dude, these people always threaten to overthrow the government and bully people when they have firearms. But when other people have firearms, just having them and getting shot, they don't protect those people's rights. Justin Marsh, thank you for the $2 super sticker. Yeah, but that's the way it is.
And we started with the NRA. NRA constantly backing up white folks getting live with their guns. When it came to black people protecting them, the NRA silent like a motherfucker. So, we see this all over the place. They want their guns to get live. They don't want you to have guns.
Yeah, Nagon, the NRA is another example of another organization that kind of got radicalized like the Republican Party because really up until the 60s, the NRA was more of a sportsman type of club, focused on hunting and things like that.
It was about having armor. It's about having guns. I used to be a member. I used to be one.
Oh, really?
Oh, sure.
Me too.
Yeah, I used to be a member
too. Yeah.
Okay. Back in the 80s, very early 90s. Then I got up out of there.
Yeah.
I saw all them Klansmen and all them other motherfuckers up in there and how that shit was radicalized. This was radicalized before the Tea Party. So I saw what was going on. Got up out of there.
Like radicalizing those people so that way they can sell weapons, and that's kind of what it turned into.
That's essentially it. Like I said, really 70s, 80s, you got the activist part of the wing that really, took over, kicked the sportsmen out, and that's when you saw it turn into, this far right, basically mouthpiece for Republican Party and no common sense real gun legislation.
Yeah, let me read this last piece right here. Thus, the Supreme Court has revitalized the Second Amendment. The court continued to strengthen the Second Amendment through the 2010 decision in McDonough versus City of Chicago. The plaintiff in McDonough challenged the constitutionally of the Chicago handgun ban, which prohibited handgun possession by almost all private citizens. In a 5-4 decision, the court, citing the intentions of the framers and ratifiers of the 14th Amendment, held that the Second Amendment applies to the states through the incorporation doctrine. However, the court did not have a majority on which clause of its 14th Amendment incorporates the fundamental right to keep and bear arms for the purpose of self-defense. While Justice Alito and his supporters looked to the Due Process Clause, Justice Thomas, in his concurrence, stated that the Privileges and Immunities Clause should justify incorporation. However, several questions still remain unanswered, such as whether regulations less stringent than the DC statute implicate the Second Amendment, whether lower courts will apply their dicta regarding permissible restrictions, and what level of scrutiny the courts should apply when analyzing a statute that infringes on the Second Amendment. As a general note, when analyzing statutes and ordinances, courts use 3 levels of scrutiny depending on the issue at hand: strict scrutiny, intermediate scrutiny, and rational basis. Regulations which ban weapons on government property, U.S. versus Dorson, upholding the defendant's conviction for bringing a handgun on post office property. Regulations which ban the illegal possession of a handgun as a juvenile convicted felon. Regulations which require a permit to carry a concealed weapon. More recently, the Supreme Court.
The gun turns into an emotional argument for these people rather than looking at it for what it needs to be used.
Yeah, that I was going to say, yeah, that was a big thing when you started to see some of these states pass these laws about, open carry and bringing firearms. All these businesses were pretty much like, hey, we don't want that liability. Like, my job back in Georgia, you weren't even technically allowed to have one in your car on work premises. So.
Mm-hmm.
Plus the liability insurance and stuff it carries as well. So
yeah,
it's a fairly sizable issue. So you can't, a lot of businesses don't want a whole lot of guns around. They don't want that shit around. Don't want them around.
No, because you get what happened in DC. You get
exactly right.
You get what happened in Georgia. You get what happened in Richmond, Virginia. This is all recent during the campaign. See, right. The problem with black men in this space is they think that they're on equal playing grounds with these Mazungas, right? These people.
Exactly right.
They think they're on the same grounds with them, and I'm like, you do realize that these guys are carrying these firearms for people like you.
They don't understand it. You see undercover police officers and everybody else like that who walk. Black police officers and stuff like that who in some of these white townships find out what that's all about. Even they're supposed to be on the police, but next thing you know, when they're out of uniform and not recognized as one of them, if you will, they get torn out the frame. They get torn out the frame, and a lot of these guys, their movements are against you, and if you're gonna side with them against your own, they'll play that game, but they're not gonna trust you. They're like, you're going against you. And at some point in time, they're going to tear you out the frame as well. That's what they have to do. They have to do that.
Oh, look.
But these guys think that they're on, like you said, Mike, they're on the equal playing field. These guys have the same desires as you do, and they don't. They look at you fundamentally different. Now, telling these guys that, they're not going to believe it. They're not going to believe it until they run into it. And many do get that wake-up call. But we pretty much know what the bottom line is. I'm not really trying to talk so much to these guys anymore because in my view, they're highly finished. But if this thing comes down in a way where kind of us against them, and these guys start coming after you, then we have to draw the line. And these dudes who are running behind these Mzungas, I got to double tap you first. I got to take your ass out. I have to take you out first because you are one of my worst enemies out here. Because you look like me, and then you can really act against us in certain kind of ways. So you got to go. That's really how I look at it. From a Sun Tzu art of war perspective. But that's kind of where we're at with this. These guys they're drawing lines, man. They're drawing lines in the sand. I'm just looking at all of what's going on here. Very aggressive talk. Mzunga's out here talking about we coming for you. They're talking this shit. Come, Cuomo and you guys, forget about it. What's up? You guys got to go. We're coming for you. Really? These dudes are talking reckless. They're talking.
Let me read this caption real quick. 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment addresses many aspects of citizenship and the rights of citizens. The most commonly used and frequently litigated phrase in the amendment is equal protection of the laws, which figures prominently in a wide variety of landmark cases, including Brown versus Board of Education, racial discrimination, Roe v. Wade, reproductive rights, Bush v. Gore, election recounts.
Wow.
Equal protection under the law. Bush v. Gore. Let's click on this real quick.
Yeah, I believe if it's not the 14th, it's either the 13th, 14th, I think 15th. It's one of those that is literally the most litigated.
No. 15th Amendment is black. We got the right to vote. We have the 14th, equal protection under the law. 13th is you being actually literally being thrown in jail and
one of the
being a slave, and then bringing back slavery on your ass. But anyway,
one of those I can't remember, like I said off the top of my head, is literally the one that is most litigated because when you start getting to interpretations, they've taken this thing out of whack from original meaning on some of this stuff.
Yeah, but none of these guys are on top of this stuff. They just say this shit to justify their savagery. They haven't read into this. What Mike is reading here and going into detail, these guys ain't talking about that.
Yeah, equal protection under the law, 14th Amendment, George W. Bush, Albert Gore. Okay. On December 8th, 2000, the Supreme Court of Florida ordered that the Circuit Court of Leon County tabulate by hand 9,000 ballots in Miami-Dade County. It also ordered the inclusion in the certified vote totals of 215 votes identified in Palm Beach County and 168 votes identified in Miami-Dade County for Vice President Albert Gore Jr. and Senator Joe Lieberman, Democratic candidates for president and vice president. The Supreme Court noted that the petitioner, Governor George Bush, asserted that the net gain for Vice President Gore in Palm Beach County was 176 votes and directed the Circuit Court to resolve that dispute on remand. The court further held that relief would require manual recounts in all Florida counties where so-called undervotes had not been subject to manual tabulation. The court ordered all manual recounts to begin at once. Governor Bush and Richard Cheney, Republican candidates for the presidency and vice presidency, filed an emergency application for a state of this mandate. On December 9th, we granted the application, treated the application as a petition for a writ of, I can't even pronounce this right now, certiorari, and granted certiorari. The proceedings leading to the present controversy are discussed in some detail in our opinion, Bush versus Palm Beach County Canvassing Board. The day, on November 8th, 2000, the day following the presidential election, the Florida Division of Elections reported that petitioner, Governor Bush, had received 2,909,1,035 votes and responded. Vice President Gore had received 2,907,351 votes a margin of 1,784 for Governor Bush, because Governor Bush's margin of victory was less than 0.5% of the votes cast. An automatic machine recount was conducted under section 102.141(4) of the election code, the results of which showed Governor Bush still winning the race, but by a diminished margin. Vice President Gore then sought manual recounts in Volusia, Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade counties pursuant to Florida's election protest provisions. Florida Statute 102.166. A dispute arose concerning the deadline for local county canvassing boards to submit their returns to the Secretary of State. The Secretary declined to waive the November 14th deadline imposed by statute. The Florida Supreme Court, however, set the deadline at November 26th. We granted certiorari and vacated the Florida Supreme Court's decision, finding considerable uncertainty as to the grounds on which it was based. On December 11th, the Florida Supreme Court issued a decision on remand, reinstating that date. This is interesting, man. That these guys don't ever want to cover this. Oh, look at all these words. They have to read all of this. Oh no, that's what do you mean we have to read all of this? You have to read all of this, man.
Read.
How many black voters were purged from the rolls?
87,000 is what Greg Palast ultimately spoke on, that they never counted into that vote. 87,000. Most of them were black men with the same last names around the states. 87,000 they purged. It was black people specifically. They don't go into that. That's the horror of this whole fucking thing. Then the Supreme Court came and wrote and fucking signed off on this farce. And it's no accident that you have a shitty president that comes out of this kind of stuff. It's always some fucked up guy that comes in there who loses. And they give the loser the fucking win, and then they just give it to him, and this is what you get. Yeah, man. Yeah, it was terrible, Mike. Go ahead, man. Continue. Go ahead.
I'm just going to read one last paragraph. It says, in an early case, in our one person, one vote jurisprudence arose when a state accorded arbitrary and disparate treatment to voters in its different counties. Gray versus Sanders. The court found a constitutional violation. We relied on these principles in the context of the presidential selection process in Moore versus Ogilvie, where we invalidated a county-based procedure that diluted the influence of citizens in larger counties in the nominating process. There we observed that the idea that one group can be granted greater voting strength than another is hostile to the one man, one vote basis of our representative government. Stop the steal. Stop the steal. Where are the patriots at now?
Ain't gonna find them.
Where are the patriots at? Equal protection under the law. Not really.
Who would have voted?
It's not real. It's just not for a certain group of people, and that's just where we are, man. And there's a reason why they all ran away from the political conversation, is because they didn't want to build any type of movement. They just wanted to take credit for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they didn't want to do the work.
It's easier to talk about and focus.
That's right.
On women who are not focusing on you at all.
Exactly right, MLT. That's exactly
much easier.
That's exactly right. And they didn't want to do the work. They just wanted this to be handed off to them. All right. The guys who are doing the work are out there right now doing the work. Cats out there, I know, guys out here doing the work are doing the work, and it's hard. It's tough. These guys, they're not willing to do that. They're not willing to do that and put the work in. But yet, the voter suppressors and all of that seem to be coming from the same cats, that these guys are supporting. Explain that.
They were
Explain
just
that.
temporary allies, man. They're just temporary allies that, all this other stuff, all this reading and history and court cases, like, that's for other people, not them. So, y'all got any last words before we get up out of here?
Nah, man. Thanks for having me on, man.
All right, cool. To go.
Hey, thanks for having me on again, MOT. Once again, cooking and burning down all the bullshit. Mike, good documentation, good backup. MOT, good backup as well. You guys constantly come in here and bring the real deal and just crush all this other bullshit down to where it belongs, in the trash. Good stuff.
All right, cool. Renaissance man, you got anything else before we get up out of here?
Nah, man, it's great stream. Trump's doing some damage to the American system. He's done a lot over these 4 years, and he's not done on his way out of office. He seems like he's going to do some more. So there's going to have to be some massive changes that are going to have to be made, and we're going to have to sit and watch and see the long-term effect of this, because it's not good.
Yeah, and like you're saying,
I don't think he's done by a long shot. I don't think he's done by a long shot. There has to be a reason why Bob Barr decided that he was going to leave. Even for him to decide that he was going to leave.
At this time.
Yes. Yeah, right now. Yeah.
Tommy's key.
Yeah. But thanks for letting me come up, MOT.
All right, cool. For everybody else listening, I want to thank you guys for coming through. We're going to be doing some things differently with the channel. Obviously, we're going into a different direction. Thank the people for all their support getting me this far, but I want to go and do something else before they start. The more traditional topics is being focused on here. I can just put that on a website or something else. So I want to thank you guys for coming through. I want to thank you guys for supporting my channel this far. And on Demand Tomorrow, you guys have a really nice day. Thanks for coming out.